I just want everyone to sort of take a moment and just listen to me here. I'm a little incoherent. I'm a little rambly. I'm really tired. So sorry about that, but please listen to me. The words coming out of my mouth should register with your ears. You guys like read fantasy and shit. I know, right? Because you're here, right? You're watching this. But the important thing is that I have to say, a lot of people, and I'm sure not all, everybody is different. There's a lot of variation, but there are a lot of people coming more into the scene nowadays, including I'm a young person myself of young age, and I know people that they read fantasy books, right? They love fantasy. They read it all the time. It's their main genre. Sorry about that. And like, but they only read modern shit. They're all like Brandon Sanderson, Brent Weeks, fucking Joe Abercrombie. Like yeah, those guys are great. Those are awesome. They're the best. But like, the thing I'm trying to say is that like, read the classics every now and then, cause like, classics are classics for a reason. And it's not just like, it's gonna be different. Their classic fantasy books are not the same as modern fantasy books, but there's important elements that have sort of grown, like those are the roots for a lot of the stuff that you read. And it's important, like, read Lord of the Rings sometime, all right? I mean, if you haven't read Lord of the Rings, most of you probably have, but if you have not read Lord of the Rings, what are you fucking doing? Like, fucking read it. If you like fantasy, at least try Lord of the Rings. And I people think that it's harder than it is. People sort of build it up as like, ah, I'm not gonna like it because it's old and I'm not into that shit. And like, yeah, there's song breaks. There's some weird pacing shit. And the writing style is more dense and more flowery and just different than what you expect and what you know. But if you push through at least the first book, read Fellowship, read the first Lord of the Rings book, and then after you finish that and like start the second one, you cannot tell me that you have not grown some appreciation for that. Like, it did so much. There's so many. Lord of the Rings is just the example I'm using. Classic fantasy, and this applies to any genre really, but I'm talking about fantasy. Read the classics. Like, the modern stuff is good. It's important to know the modern stuff, but you can't really understand the modern stuff if you don't see through the lens of the classics, of the roots from where they came. And like, you can find it online. Like, you can look up like Brandon Sanderson inspirations, and he'll list like a couple authors that were important to him. If Brandon Sanderson is your favorite author, or do this with any author, look that up. Look up your blank favorite author influences or inspiration authors, and try reading that just to give you sort of more of an understanding. I just think it's really a loss that a lot of people experience when they just sort of write off classic fantasy as something like, ah, nah, I don't want to deal with that. It's old and shit. I don't like that. Like, nah, read it, try it, give it a shot, and give a couple things a shot. Like, you will probably be jarred slightly, or at least slightly to a large amount, by sort of writing style and different aspects, and there will be more predictability because you read the sort of result before you read the original thing. But it's just so worth it to sort of understand. Like, I read Dune. This is more sci-fi than fantasy. I read Dune recently, and it was so good. I mean, the writing style was not great. There were problems I had with it. I didn't enjoy it every second through. But just the sheer influence that I can see on like future shit, like fucking Star Wars and stuff. Like, it was so good in that sense. I mean, it was good in a lot of other senses too, and especially once I got used to like the writing style. But like, that's just my general point. Fucking even like if you're new to the scene or if you're not, if you haven't read classic stuff like fucking Lord of the Rings and Dune, give them a shot, give them a try because they are good and they are worth it and they are important. All right.